I'm a member of Spectre.
Spectre?
Spectre. Special Executive for Counterintelligence, Terrorism, Revenge, Extortion. The four great cornerstones of power, headed by the greatest brains in the world.
Namo Amida Butsu. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whenever you are, in whichever realms of existence you are, whatever mind state you're in, whatever conditions you're in. As always, you're welcome to my channel. I'm going to be more or less whispering tonight because the household has gone to bed. Both the animal realm and the human realm, save for me in those households. So I need to be as quiet as I can be for this one. That's why I'm speaking in this low-toned or whispering kind of voice. So, and it's kind of appropriate that I am, but I'll get to that in a minute. But, so yeah, I just wanted to talk about every time in Amida's light, when I'm observing, that's what I'm doing, I can observe things now. I can really observe, not observe things in like an enlightened beings kind of way, or a masterful, mindful kind of way. That's not what I'm talking about. But I can observe things in the world enabled by Amida's light that I would never be able to see on my own. And as I sort of continue to examine, observe, notice, reflect on certain things about samsaric existence during Mappo, the current state of the world, current events, current geopolitical realities, it gets worse. The more I look, the more Amida's light illumines things, the worse it gets. And really doesn't surprise me, but it is like, it's still mind-blowing when I get to another kind of layer of it, another level of it. And basically, one of the aspects of this is those that I talked about, the clubs before, the clubs, the rulers, both seen and unseen of our world, are basically criminals. They're racketeers. Everything they do is a kind of racket. It's a kind of mafia. It runs like a kind of mafia. It's like the high table in John Wick. That's basically what the actual realpolitik is. That's the real thing. And it's been run like that for a long time. That's nothing new. At least for a couple to a few hundred years, in one way or another. Which makes sense living in Mappo, because we've been in Mappo for about 900 years or something. So it that's the end of the declining side of the Kalpa. We're at the very end. So of course the world leaders are going to be that, and so it's not only is it complete racketeering, everything they do. And it goes in the layers of that the tentacles of that go down to the lowest levels of governance. And the lowest levels within, so it's not just the governance, isn't just the government, it's the corporations, it's the economic powers, it's the banks, especially the central banking system. But it's those tentacles go into everything. That culture, that criminality culture it's in everything. And it's a system of control through corruption. It's a system of control through corruption from people having information on people, of various kinds, whether it's recordings, audio or visual recordings of things, whatever, but also controlled through just, people want what they want. So you get it. You get the whole, it's almost too expansive to describe, actually. So there's that aspect to it, and the culture of Mappo favors psychopathy at the very top. That's why they can rise to the top. In other eras, it wouldn't be so. They wouldn't be allowed to. But in Mappo, psychopathy, sociopathy, psychopaths and sociopaths do very well in Mappo, and they're in these upper echelons of leadership in all the clubs. And the clubs, there's, like I said, there's about 4 clubs. They each have their own, subgroups within them. And there's, shall we say, cabals within the clubs that are more powerful than others. One in particular. But anyway, won't get into that too much. But so, and they have this down to a science. They have it down to a science. It's not to say that everything they do is competent. It's not to say that everything they do is that they know everything and then they're just, but they have a pretty good angle and capacity with it. They've been honing their craft for a very long time as well, and passing that on, down the generations of the clubs. And so not only are they made a science of this, and out of this, so it's quite literally, there's mad scientists. I mean, quite literally, we live in an era, I've talked about this before, of like actual Bond villains. These people are actual Bond villains. You've seen them. You know what I mean. And at least the ones that are visible, anyway, to us. And there's also, Mappo also favors in this culture of this criminality that rules our world, also favors mad scientists doing all sorts of things in the world, to the earth, to the environment, to people. And part of that science, part of this mad science is mad social science as well. They basically we're involved in one big mad experiment. One particular feature of it is mad, and it's, well, actually no. If you came at it from a scientific standpoint, you would say, oh, we should abandon this. We should abandon this project because it's failed. But they keep doing it because the aberrant effects of this experiment, I'm not going to say what it is, but it's in every aspect of our life, and growing bigger, becoming a bigger and bigger and bigger aspect of our life. It's been part of my entire lifetime, but it's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger part of that lifetime. And it's because this particular social science experiment and behavioral experiment and science experiment of these mad scientists and elites works for them, because the aberrant effects of it weaken certain elements of society and civilization and strengthen others, or maybe not strengthen others. It doesn't strengthen others. It just gives them more free reign. But it gives them more control. It gives them more control of certain aspects of society and culture and civilization. It gives them because certain aspects of culture and society and civilization are more compliant just by their nature. They're more compliant, they're more sheeple, they're more unintelligent, they're more willing to just follow orders or follow dictates, they're more apt to obey. They're more apt to serve without questioning. And they're much easier to control. And that's what these experiments are almost designed to bring about. It's like they knew it was had been studied was actually wrong, but they actually could see, they saw, it's hard to talk about this without talking about it, but it is what it is. I'm not gonna get into specifics, but anyway. So, and then throughout also that you've got the racketeering, rulers, you've got and their mad scientists and their system of corruption and mafias and gangs, basically, that right down to the actual gangs are part of this. Right from the highest levels of the high table and the mafia, both seen and unseen, of these elites, of the clubs is what I'm talking about. Right down through everything there, it's like if you look at the mafia and you got this sort of chain of command kind of in that, and you've got that in the way that they govern things, right down to including the actual gangs, the actual cartels, the actual mafias and mobs, are part of it, So that's just like the grosser manifestation of it, if you like. And then throughout all this is this like fifth column thing. It's all deep state. It's deep state. I mean, obviously, all the major components. The industrial, they used to call it the military industrial complex. Well, it's actually the military industrial, big pharma, big tech, big media, central banking, deep state complex is what it should be called now. And that's running through too, this whole layers and layers of manipulation through the deep state. And that's the real power. That's where the real things happen, the real power happens. And it's almost undescribable. Like, I'm just barely kind of able to say it all, what I'm trying to say, really. And it's bad. It just keeps getting worse and worse. Like, I saw some of this many years ago, when I was much younger, decades ago. And that's grown over the years. But the past several years, it's with, the light of Amina was illuminating all of that. But the last several years, particularly, it started accelerating. In the last year or two, it's gone like into overdrive. The stuff I'm kind of seeing now, and I'm kind of been going through different phases with it, and I've gone through this over time as well, where I go, oh, I wish I didn't see that. Oh, I wish I didn't see that. And then I get to a point of, okay, yeah, that's it. And I accept it. And then it becomes like almost funny, in a sense. It becomes almost like it's just so ridiculous that, I'm just like, okay, yeah, that's Mappo, man. That is the insane evil clown world of Mappo. Idiocracy, but it's diabolical. It's, idiocracy is the lower, I guess that would be the lower level of it. The ones that are being puppeteered, that's part of it too, to make them look like idiots and whatever. There's just so much to it. Anyway, I don't want to go too much into that. What I'm trying to say is, this is Mappo. This is what we have, and it's almost impossible to take a stand within it, to come up on a side of it, because it doesn't operate that way. The political parties and all of this and the big drama around elections and all of this stuff, that's just kabuki freaking theater. I've talked about this before. That is just kabuki theater. Has no basis in it. It has nothing to do with any of it. What actually is going to come about and happen. So all you're left with is what I keep saying for myself is, taking guidance for how I should behave in my life with those around me in the human and animal realm and the other realms unseen that share our realm, to behave in the way, use the guidance from Honan for how we should conduct ourselves in our daily and civic and from Honan, from Shinran, from Renyo, from Shakyamuni himself, from the different teachings about the 10 teachings of kingship in Buddhism, from the example of the Chakravartin, anyway, it just, you do, and the five, and obviously the principles of humanity and humaneness that Shinra and Renyo point us toward, which is basically Confucian, but in a looser kind of way. Confucian, kind of, but without the very specific Confucian teachings about it. It's more just the way to conduct yourself in life and society and family and everything. So you just use that as loose guidelines and things that, and all the guidelines that our Dharma masters have given that pointed toward these things, as best you can. That's all I can do. Because it's impossible to take any of the political parties seriously, or even if some of them have like sort of integrity to them and seem to make sense, that's they're operating on, even the ones that do have some kind, the political parties or political philosophies that might seem to have some truth to it or some depth or some integrity, like I say. That's not how it works. and if you actually go into trying to use those principles, it's just like you're naive. It's like you're a sheep in a den of wolves. You're a human being in a pack of grizzly bears that are starving, something like that. If you try to approach this with that kind of naivete and believe that in Mappo, as a Buddhist in Mappo, I just can't even fathom that you could do that. Actually, no. If Amida is illumining one's path, I suppose we all have different capacities and different ways that's going to play out. But you just can't operate in that kind of naivete. And the other thing I wanted to say about all this is, so who's responsible for this? Who's responsible for the way this world is? Who are you going to point the finger at? Who's to blame? Who's responsible for this? Want to know who's responsible for this? I'm going to tell you. I'm going to reveal it. I'm going to reveal the secret. Look in the mirror. Us. We are responsible for all this stuff I was talking about. Both by our individual karma. We were born into Mappo. We were born in this time. We deserve these leaders. We deserve this world. We deserve this kind of governance, quote unquote. We deserve it because that's our karma. Brought us here, brought us now, and our karmic relations to everyone and everything over through, past incalculable rebirths, all those karmic relations coming to fruition collectively in our collective karma here, creating all this. Yep, we're responsible for it. We're responsible. So that's the other thing. A lot of people are talking about this kind of stuff that I'm talking about right now. And, there's a lot of talk about, we need to, bring them to justice, bring these psychopaths and sociopaths to justice. We need to have a Nuremberg 2 and blah, blah, blah. You know, all this stuff. Like, we need to bring them into, they need to be reckoned with. They need to be, made accountable for what they've done. Blah, 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 blah. At all these different levels of that, And I don't do that because I know what I just said. Because of Amita's light, I see I'm responsible. You're responsible. We're all responsible for this together, for making this happen. Because of our karma, individually and collectively. All our past karmic relations of incalculable lifetimes. We're responsible for this. So, I don't have that. I'm not on the hunt. I'm not on I'm not on the warpath for these people, because we created it together. We created this together out of our own karmic mess, out of our own karmic causes and conditions and ignorance. Rebirth after rebirth to this time. You want to know who's responsible? That's who's responsible. So again, it takes that edge off of it, It takes the anger off of it, the anger out of it, the judgment out of it. It takes the ire out of it, the vengeance out of it. The desire to expose them. We must expose their blah, 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 blah. All that stuff gone. Because of Amita's light. Because of Amita enabling me to be able to see this in just this way. So I feel like, at least for this, the layers that have come off in the past year or two, say, I feel like I've gotten to a point of acceptance, or been enabled by Amita's working to have a level of acceptance of this. In a way I've never had. Never had. I had moments where I felt like, yeah, okay, I can see that. We're responsible, karma, blah, blah, blah. And I'd have moments, but I could never really stay with that, And now I feel like I'm kind of am, staying there. Do I not get, I still get angry about things. I still get angry about it. I still get like, wow. But mostly I just get like, it's almost like it's like a weird, like, awe, like, almost not awe in an admiring way, but just an astonished, like, wow, that is like crazy, type of way. But anyway, yes, I think that's about it. I think this reflection has gone on for as long as it had to, so I'll just say some Nembutsu to take it out. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda, Namanda Butsu, Namanda. All right, until next time, take care.
They don't want people who are smart enough to sit around the kitchen table and figure out how badly they're getting fucked by a system that threw them overboard 30 fucking years ago. They don't want that. You know what they want? They want obedient workers. Obedient workers. People who are just smart enough to run the machines and do the paperwork, and just dumb enough to passively accept all these increasingly shittier jobs with the lower pay, the longer hours, the reduced benefits, the end of overtime, and the vanishing pension that disappears the minute you go to collect it. And now they're coming for your Social Security money. They want your fucking retirement money. They want it back. so they can give it to their criminal friends on Wall Street. And you know something? They'll get it. They'll get it all from you sooner or later because they own this fucking place. It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
Gentlemen, we're history.